we talk about disconnected. So part of what we do is lay out a few ways that we primarily see overwhelm kick in, and then what the consequences are, and then what we can do about it. So we spend a bunch of time talking about being disconnected. Another significant consequence of being disconnected is that we won't be able to bring our quality of presence to bear. This matters in tiny daily moments as well as rare epic times. Time and again in life, we learn that even when we can't affect the outcome of a given situation, our presence can mean the difference between creating harm or escalating suffering, or slightly shifting or absolutely transforming whatever is unfolding. Sometimes our ability to be present is literally all we have. You know what I'm talking about. Yes, perhaps you've been in a vulnerable situation where even if the ultimate outcome could not and would not change, the school suspension was going to stay the school suspension, the home foreclosure was going to stay the home foreclosure, the diagnosis was going to stay the diagnosis. The other human being involved with access to resources, information, or authority, the head of school or the accountant or the doctor, was able to be present, make eye contact, and treat you with dignity. That person's ability to calmly bear witness had an enormous impact in terms of minimizing suffering and shifting an experience that could have caused harm to one of hardship instead. I have seen on many occasions how unique work environments can be conducive to fostering either the best or the worst in employees. It is evident that airline call centers, workers, TSA agents, airport security, flight attendants, and others in the travel industry, for example, are among those who are often extremely overwhelmed by the stress of their work. But for Jay Ward, the presence of airline industry workers made a significant and long-lasting impact during the first few critical hours after his brother was murdered. That day, employee after employee brought their presence to bear. During the call, when he learned of Adam's death, though he could not make out much from his utterly distraught parents, he clearly heard their pleading to please come home right away, please. Jay and his sister lived in different cities, both across the country from their parents. But when a friend contacted the airlines on Jay's behalf, the personnel on duty that day did everything in their power to help. Seats on flights were secured such that Jay and his sister could meet on the first connecting flight possible. Airline escorts met them at the airport, ushered them through security, then took them to a room where they could wait before boarding. Canceled flights and missed connections later, each airline and airport representative did all they could to move them through the various airports seamlessly over tarmacs and through concourses, all the while trying to screen them from the countless television screens in each airport that were reporting on and replaying the shooting over and over again. On the last leg of their parents' home, the plane was filled with journalists and reporters traveling both to cover the story and to pay respect to their fallen comrades. The flight attendants stood watch over Jay and his sister to assure there would be no unwanted contact and handed them off to loved ones waiting at their home airport. Jay has shared with me stories about the many, many people who helped him and his family survive this loss. But there is something particularly moving in the way he talks about each of those strangers in the airline industry. Perhaps it's because they weren't childhood friends, their family pastor, their neighbors, or their current community. Perhaps it was because each of those people who helped Jay and his sister traverse the country as quickly as possible during an impossibly heartbreaking day were drawing purely on their sense of humanity. There was no distracting debate on guns or discussion of workplace safety or anything else. Person after person was rooted in their ability to bring their presence to bear on behalf of those who were suffering, thereby acting with acute decency and honoring a family's dignity. For years after a hard time, we can reflect on how events unfolded, and sometimes when we remember, what we remember most is one person who made such a difference in that moment, for better or worse. Whether in formal or informal roles, we each have countless opportunities throughout our days to bring this quality of presence to bear. We have the capacity to be this presence for the people we encounter in our life.